Okay, welcome everyone to this panel. This is going to be a very interesting one. It starts with a bit of a weird question: how much commission should a platform charge? But trust me, it's a question which is going to open many cans of worms, I think. So it's going to be an interesting one. I want to welcome my guests. Thank you for being here today. I'm gonna let yourself guys present quickly, and the order is what I see on my screen. So if I first see Eric Mason from the United States. Eric, welcome. What are you up to?
Thank you. No, it's good to be here, and actually, it's a great topic to cover. A little bit about myself. I've been in and around the short-term rental, vacation rental marketplace for quite a long time, back from 2006 and forward, and have helped build and deploy many solutions around the industry. So this is just a topic near and dear. I think we're all interested in how decisions are made around this topic. So I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Great, thank you. And then I see Moriya down on my left. So go ahead.
Hi, my name is Moriya Rockman from Smiling House. We are an alliance of luxury vacation rental around the world, actually in 26 countries. We're very much focusing on the segment of private amazing homes and working with property managers and homeowners, and based in Switzerland, Mückstadt in the Swiss Alps.
Nice.
Good to see you. Good to see you finally, Luca. Hope we could see each other, all of you, soon.
Yeah. Let's hope we can start traveling again soon. David from San Francisco, from Hostfully. What is Hostfully exactly in 2 words?
Hey, Luca. Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me. So Hostfully, we are a software platform for property managers. We have 2 products, actually. One is a platform to make beautiful digital guidebooks, and the other is core property management software. So we help you manage all your operations, get you listed directly on a bunch of channels, manage your automated emails, stuff like that. Okay, great. Just before we start, let me say how I relate to you guys, because I don't know personally Eric, but we're working together now on Yes Consulting, which is a new consulting company launched by Eric himself and Richard Bolton. And with Moriya, there's a history, because we met 3 years ago now at in Como at the Vacation Rental World Summit, where we were very lucky to present trips. And I still remember when Moriya, I didn't know it was Moriya at the time, but somebody asked a question at Booking.com about payments. I can't remember exactly. What was this question? It was pretty direct, so I remember that.
It was a question coming from me, from the crowd.
Yeah.
Complaining or asking why I cannot work with them. And I made all the heads turned, of course, say, I'm looking for the day I can work with you, Booking.com. And the reason why I cannot work with you, unfortunately, it's the fact that the commission that you're taking, plus the fact that you want it to be instantly booked, the kind of luxury vacation rental around the world cannot just work with you. And right after, I got like 20 or 30 property managers from different parts of the world came to me and say, you just said what we didn't dare to say for years. And I think that this was a big moment for Smiling House to understand that we should be kind of an alliance. And right after lunch, I came back to Alessandro from Booking.com and told him, you know, it's not my question anymore. It's a question from tens of property managers and owners, and probably a budget of all of us a month is close to a few hundreds of thousands of dollars. You still don't want us to be working with Booking.com? And
are you working?
The question still remains.
Oh, so you're still not working with them?
No, we can't.
And okay. Well, basically it shows that once a company gets too big, it loses flexibility and business in this case. I mean, maybe the best business out there. It's a weak point. It's a weak point. We have this feeling that OTAs are like omnipotent, that can do whatever, but it's not true. They have weak spots, and that's one. You just go one. I could remember you asked about the commission, and this is perfect, because for this panel, you actually asked that question. Like, well, I guess your question was,
Yeah,
can you make a lower commission because
yeah, I asked about the commission and about the effect of instant booking. But commission, if you think about it, if you think about a luxury vacation rental, first of all, this is a traditional vacation rental before the OTAs. People were renting chalets and castles and villas also in the 18th and 19th century, of course in the 20th century. This is a traditional vacation rental that had to adapt to the OTAs, not the other way around. And with this adaptation, many of the property managers and the property owners still cannot play a role in the OTAs. And one big reason is the commission. Commission from 1,000 or $100, which is one thing. A commission from 20 or 30 or 40 or maybe $100,000 becoming for the client another few days on spot, another babysitter, another a friend that he can invite over just because of the commission of the OTAs. It makes no sense.
You're talking about one booking. That's the amount.
Yeah, we're talking about one booking that can get between $5,000 and $7,000 or $10,000 that's going on a commission. The commission of the OTAs right now is between 15 and 22%.
Oh, okay. It's funny they don't have a. We're gonna get to this later, but it's really funny they don't have a tiered approach to this kind of very high ticket bookings. Okay, David, we don't know each other, and I think we have never met. We have something in common, the fact that with Trips we are very close partners to a company in San Francisco, which is Origin Protocol. And do you ever come to Europe? Do you travel to Europe sometimes to these conferences, or you're more like based in America?
I don't know if you guys would let me come to Europe these days, but
no.
but before that, yes, I've been a few times.
Okay, great. Okay, so let me quickly introduce what we're doing with Trips and then why we have this question. So as I was mentioning, we are partners with Origin Protocol, which is a San Francisco company, which is building the protocols, the open protocols for the marketplace, for the sharing economy, for everything. So with their software, we will all be able to build the next Uber, Airbnb, Amazon, and so on. Okay, so we are partners with them for the vacation rental vertical, and we already have with them some app where you can do bookings and reviews, etc. It's very basic. When I say Web3, I mean the internet with the blockchain, but I won't get in detail with that. Very quickly, one important point here is that we have to decide a commission. That's why this question. And we don't need to extract profit from the commission. We need to get the commission to reinvest it in marketing and anything else related to running the platform. So the commission pays for the platform and its marketing. It doesn't pay for its investors, okay? The investors are paid, they have their return on investment through a different system, which is called tokenization, is related to cryptocurrencies. I won't bother you with that, but just get this, basically. We are trying to get as little commission as possible because it makes the platform more valuable. So the question we asked ourselves is, how much? Of course, it's an impossible question to answer because whatever you answer, then you have to try it on the market. But we decided for a 5%. And if we see that we need to charge more, we'll charge more. If we manage to charge less, we'll charge less. We're going to try to charge as little as possible. That's the main difference with the OTAs, which are trying to charge, of course, as much as possible. Another important point, once we launch this, what is called governance, the commission will not be decided by me or people in Trips. It's going to be decided by the network. The network will be anybody who uses the platform. It may seem a bit far off, but today there are projects in the decentralized finance space. I don't know if you guys have heard about DeFi. Have you heard this term recently? DeFi. Okay, Eric is nodding. So it's something, there's a lot of movement in the cryptocurrency in DeFi today. And there are projects where people vote for something like how much commission to get. And the decisions are taken not by the people who wrote the protocols, but by the network. So in Trips, the commission will be decided by all of us, not with a democratic vote, not with a majority in terms of like number of votes, but based on the cryptocurrency you own. Again, it may sound funny, but it's actually happening, and it's going to happen too. So that's why we need to decide the commission. So that's all about Trips. My question to you guys, and I'm going to start with Eric. 5% commission. What would change if from tomorrow everybody pays 5% in total? I'm talking about not what you as a host pay to Airbnb or to Booking, but the amount of money which is removed from the transaction today, which is about 15 to 20%, even in Airbnb, because the guest pays the rest. What will happen if tomorrow we all start paying 5 instead of 15 or 20? Yeah, that's the question basically.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if the platform can reach and develop demand, you've got a kind of a chicken and the egg thing, obviously, right? So we've got, the ability to garner inventory, right? That makes attracting consumers, compelling. I believe an offering at 5% would be compelling. The bigger questions are, how does it perform in the marketplace, right? Given its need to disrupt big spenders, billion-dollar advertisers, and to drive demand on the platform. I mean, it again, anecdotally, it seems to be an interesting number. Whether it's the right number or not, ultimately, you'll know because users or prospective users will tell you. But I think, ultimately, I typically approach things with pro formas and try to figure out, how do I sustain an operation, with the amount of money, we generate and the expenses and costs around, driving the business and delivering a solution. But ultimately, the consumer / user will define and decide it. But again, anecdotally, I guess 5% is a good place to start.
And yeah, of course, the question is five is too little, so you won't be able to make it work. But let's for a second assume that it works, and not with Trips, but in general. What would change today in the industry if the commissions were not, in general, for all of us, for all the portals, were not that amount, but lower? What kind of secondary effects would you imagine? I know it's a hard question, Eric. Sorry about that. But
no, it's okay. I mean, this is sort of a brainstorming kind of ideation call, right? I mean, obviously, I think it would support the health of suppliers, aka property managers and hosts, to kind of deliver perhaps better service, to focus on growing their portfolio because they're actually, generating more incremental revenue to themselves, right? So, one of the spin-off effects could very well likely be, hey, I have more profitability, therefore, let me go out and grow my portfolio. So that's just one that comes to mind. There's a lot of angst, as we all know, right, in the marketplace regarding, OTA fees and the amount that is required to drive demand on those platforms. So if there's a way to really, garner demand from a platform like Trips, I think it would be wildly successful. I think this is sort of it's a journey that you'll go through. But I think ultimately, if you put more money in the pockets of the supply side, it'll have benefits beyond probably what I can imagine right now.
Great. Moriya, what I see as a vision for this? I see a vision where at a certain point, Trips launches and many other similar OTAs will launch. But let's stay on Trips. And you alone could say, okay, I'm going to make a proposal as a member, of the network. And I want to have a very low commission for very high tickets. So, or maybe put, a cap on commissions. 5% is fine, but maximum 3,000 euro or whatever. And then people would vote for that. Now, suppose that, and that's actually what's happening in DeFi. So we're going to get to that point, right? So suppose that you could do this. What kind of proposal would you make? Because your interest is also, of course, is to pay less commissions, but it's also for the platform to work. So you
Right.
wouldn't ask for a 0%, right? What would be like, your proposal to the network?
I think there should be a cap, and I think that percentage should go down, or there's a cap, or percentage should go down according to the size of the booking, not the other way around. Because if a booking of $50,000 is happening in within the platform, the platform should be happy and charge a bit less. The less they're charging, still probably going to be representing tens of others bookings in the normal ecosystem. From the other hand, this kind of knowledge will encourage people in the segment of luxury vacation rental to work with the OTA, because let's not forget the OTA or the platform is bringing a lot of value that you cannot compare with working with an Excel and some kind of a digital a diary or something like that. So, a lot of this, the situation of today is also stopping a lot of property managers and property owners from progressing as a host in the digital way. And like Eric mentioned, maybe to be able to host in a wider portfolio, but also in the service that they're able to give to their client. If they are not digital, they're losing the good sides of the OTAs. And about your suggestion that the price will be defined by the people who are working within the platform, clients and users, etc. As you know, I'm also a sharing economy specialist, and for me, it's amazing news. And I can tell you one thing, Switzerland, you cannot say it's a sharing economy country, but in Switzerland, one thing from a political point of view, for the last 50, 60 years, every decision is taken by everybody who lives in this country, whoever cares, from moving one tree in one city to the biggest major decision. And if a whole country can be functioning in such a good way, in this way, I'm sure one OTA can do, and maybe the others too.
Well, great answer. If you really want to see this in action on a completely different, in a market like the finance, go and check Compound or Kyber Network, but check Compound, and it's amazing. Go on Twitter or the website, and you will see how people in these days are voting exactly these things. And the nice thing is that you can vote very complex rules. And these rules, by the way, I didn't mention that, are enforced automatically. So if tomorrow your proposal goes to, okay, max cap 5,000 euro per commission and decreasing commission with rising the commission, like booking price, this can be written in the smart contract, and this is automatic. There's no way, there's no need for somebody to, okay, well, we change our mind. No, it's like it's enforced by the software, and it's incredibly powerful. And until 6 months ago, that was theory. We knew it was going to happen, but today we are seeing it, and it's amazing to see. These people are moving. I think they are moving hundreds of millions of dollars already with this. So check it out if you're curious, because it's a glimpse in what's going to come.
Sure.
Great. David, I got a different question for you, which is, you're selling software and services to your customers, and they buy it if they have money, and they pay a price according to the money they have left. So the operative margin of your customers affects your sales and affects what kind of offering you can have. If they could have a lower commission, let's say on the 5%, first of all, how much more money would they have to spend on services like yours? And how would this change? I know it seems like a rhetorical question, but no, actually, I'm curious to ask, is this a problem, the fact that the operating margins are lower than they used to be? And how important is that fact in general? when you are, going into the market, how do your customers feel the pressure of not having too much margin, if it's true, by the way, because it could not be true?
Sure. So putting ourselves in the property manager's shoes, let's say they have a property that is, for simple math, $100 a night. They actually don't look at, a lot of our clients don't look at Booking.com being very different from Airbnb in terms of the commission, because they're putting on the goggles of the guest and what the guest is paying. So with Booking.com, the guests, they would up their price to $115 to be listed on Booking.com to pay that 15% commission. On Airbnb, they would make it $103 to pay the 3% commission, but the guest on Airbnb is being charged around a 12% commission. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. So that brings it up to $115. So the guest is seeing the same price. If you have a pricing strategy to take into account the commissions, the guest is paying $115 on Booking.com or on Airbnb. It's the same thing, and you're still getting your $100. So a lot of our clients don't really see a difference between the two, and they're still making the same amount on both, and the guest is paying the same amount on both. Now, here comes something like Trips, which is only charging 5%. There's a lot of flexibility that the property manager has on their pricing strategy. They can still have it be $115 that the guest is paying, and now they're getting around $110, $109 instead of $100. So all of a sudden, Trips becomes their favorite platform, and they're going to be putting more energy into making sure their listing is good on Trips and promoting Trips because they want more bookings from there. Or the other option is they still get their base of 100, which is what they need. So it's appearing as 105 on Trips, and that's cheaper than the 115 on Booking.com and the 115 on Airbnb. So now Trips is going to be known as the place to get the better deal. So there's kind of two benefits there, and property managers can choose one or the other, but either way it works out for Trips, and there's more money to help them out, and improves their business as well as a property manager being listed on Trips.
Would they be able then, would they spend more on your services or buy more of your services, or would you be able to offer better ones, like once this money is liberated?
Yeah, for those that want their price to be the same across the board, so it's 115 on Airbnb, 115 on Booking.com, 115 on Trips, then they're making more margin, right? Yeah. For every Trips reservation. So that, yes, that absolutely gives them more ability to provide more services, to use other software to make a better experience for the guests.
Okay.
I can tell you one thing about from my side. If such opportunity will come to reality, I could encourage. We have a lot of upsells, and this is also something that is very hard today to communicate through the OTAs. It can be a chef, and it can be a pickup or babysitting or ski lesson or whatever. And for me, for this kind of people that we are busy with, sometimes the difference of another 1,000 or 2,000, it's not a big deal, but they do evaluate their money. Means that if the platform will be cheaper and will be able to give them more in the same amount, a platform can even take some margin from these upsells, but we're getting a much happier guest. And that will, that his vacation will be not only with a beautiful vacation rental, but also a real experience that comes to all, made in one place. And this is their desire anyway.
If this works the way it should work, if the system manages to price the right commission, then the commission paid will be exactly the commission which your property managers will be happy to pay. In other words, Trips wants the bookings to go through Trips because it makes the whole platform more valuable. So everybody's going to have more value in their hands. And every time and it doesn't matter if it's high or low, because anyway, there's no profit to be made. So if we manage to get the right system, you're gonna get what you need. Basically, the market defines the price. While today the market doesn't really define the price, because you as a market, as a provider, were not able to get into one of the biggest OTAs who are losing money basically on your business. So maybe we're gonna have a better situation there. Okay. Eric, what do you think what's the situation today with the margins in this market? What do you think from compared to 10 years ago? And what's your take on this? Is it an important subject or not?
Yeah, it's always an important subject. I mean, if you're talking about from the supply side margins,
Yeah,
obviously, given that they are likely pricing to the cost that they're bearing, right? So as David was saying, that they'll add incremental cost on top of whatever the base rate they may believe is appropriate for a marketer based on what the homeowner or property owner needs. So ultimately, they have some ability to kind of control, at least from a kind of an OTA perspective, manage some of the profitability or margin side of it. But ultimately, I think this is kind of gravitating around what we're talking about is that if you can deliver guests, and I believe, there's still going to be multiple different channels to acquire guests to the properties directly, from a supplier site and their own initiatives and marketing initiatives, which is appropriate, and we all should be doing that. And then leveraging the appropriate OTAs with the appropriate fee structure. But I mean, margin pressure is constant, right? Because we have a lot of services and a lot of solutions in the market, right? And they all have potentially their place to help drive efficiencies and potentially more or higher profitability. Sometimes it gets confusing because of the sheer amount of stuff that we have to look at. I mean, I'm a big proponent of doing sort of monthly P&L reviews to see what we're spending and where our money's coming from, what's appropriate to spend on, and what is it driving in terms of guest experience, guest acquisition, and ultimately sort of impacting our bottom line. But again, margin pressure is going to be a reality regardless, frankly, of what we do here, because there's other costs that are beyond what we're talking about. But it should be frankly on all of our radar all the time.
Okay. I had a question, but I lost it.
I'd love to comment on something Moriya
Thank you, David. You saved me.
With regards to the upselling of additional services, we're seeing that as a big trend and a big focus on property managers as ways to get additional revenue. If as a property manager, if I were a property manager, I'm getting around 20 or 30%, and the homeowner is getting the other 70 to 80% of the actual rent.
Right.
But these additional opportunities of, a chef or ground transportation or groceries pre-arrival, or even like a mid-stay cleaning or an extended checkout, oftentimes that's not part of the agreement with the homeowner. So the property manager can get 100% of the profit of that. So they are looking, not only obviously is it a better experience for the guests to be offered those services from the property manager and have it be a kind of all-in-one, one-stop shop, but it's also very lucrative for the property manager to be able to offer that.
Is this not under pressure from the OTAs too, that they're trying to own that part too and charge a commission on top? How is this moving lately?
A little bit, but not really. You don't see a lot of these additional upsells being done through Airbnb or Booking.com after a reservation is made. So, Airbnb, of course, they have their experiences thing, but that's different from a mid-stay cleaning or an extended checkout or groceries pre-arrival, right, or other amenities and benefits like that can make for a wonderful stay. So that's usually taken offline. And if there's a way actually for a platform to be able to help support that, the property manager would be all on board with that, because it's, again, great additional revenue for them.
Okay.
Because
So
if you're
yeah,
familiar
Moriya.
also with what Airbnb is offering with the experience, is actually taking you to another host in many cases.
Yes.
The host of an experience is another host, and then the client is like dealing with two different, and especially what David says is the services that given into the house, especially the cleaning ones, and other things that are, you know, belong to the way that the house is functioning and familiarity with the house. That's makes so much more sense that it will be done through the property manager and through the OTA with the same host. So if this is a very good insight, if you can develop it as a feature, it will answer a big need.
Mhm. Yes, what we're seeing actually, a lot of our clients who get direct bookings on their own website as part of that checkout flow, kind of like when you buy a plane ticket, it asks if you want a rental car as well or a hotel. So we're seeing that happening on the direct sales side. So after they pick a property before checkout, they get offered a bunch of different services. Do you want that mid-stay cleaning? Do you want the extended checkout? Do you want a tour, you know, a horseback tour ride? And they can include whatever they want in that as part of the, you know, the upsell during the checkout process, or at any point afterwards between when the guest makes that reservation and when they're actually checking in. So if there's a platform that didn't just focus on the reservation, but allowed for property managers to sell other services, that would be a big differentiator.
You're talking about direct bookings, David, right?
I'm talking about direct bookings. So
Direct
if there was
bookings,
a platform that also enabled property managers to have those upsell items and
Right.
maybe take a 5% commission on that, that would be a great differentiator, because no platforms are really doing that right now.
Actually, it's recent from Airbnb removing the email and kind of forbidding you to communicate out of the booking. So this is making upsells more difficult. Is that right?
That's a big deal. That's huge. They just made that announcement that for August they're going to be
they're working for us. They're making life easier for us. They're just going a bit too hard in a hard moment. So okay, I got another question for all of you, and I start by saying what happened in 2017. 2017, there was this big ICO thing in the crypto world where companies raised millions of dollars in minutes in a completely legal way, by the way, but doesn't matter. And there were many projects where they were doing platforms for bookings with 0% commission. And the logic goes, it works because, as I was saying, it's tokenized. So the money comes from another way, comes from the token. And when we had to decide how much to charge, I said, in this market, when you offer a 0%, you lose credibility immediately, because they won't understand tokenization. They're going to think it's free. And when it's free, you know, we've seen booking portals offering 0% commission, and they never worked. So we decided 5%. But my question is, how much is too high before it becomes not interesting? So Eric, let's say that the average is 15 today. If I say, okay, we're going to charge 14, probably say, okay, that doesn't matter. Where is the number we should not go over before we burn this interesting aspect? Because we're going to have pressure to make it higher, to get more marketing money, etc. Right? What is the number? Is that a magic number in your head?
No, I don't think there's a magic number, but, you know, to your original question on, there's been providers in the past that have come to the market with 0% fees or zero cost. You know, there's always a way or there's a structure that allows the organization to make money. I sort of preach transparency, because if somebody has a question in their mind about this can't be real. I was just having this conversation yesterday with another property manager about some things. Then why would I trust that it's real? So I think if you come to the market and you have some sort of a, you know, unrealistic fee that is realistic given your business model, just tell the user or the client, a prospective client, why it's possible and how you're making money. I think that works well. I don't believe, you know, in my view, my experience, I don't know if there's a magic number, except we've all seen that movie before, whereby, you know, there's new entrants into the market with a lower commission, to get users, right? So you gain critical mass, and then over time you see that sort of bar raised, consecutively and consistently. And that's just, that'll just be a turnoff, I believe, over time. Except, let's look at it in terms of, if you're able to drive demand in a meaningful way, then there'll be a propensity to be accepting of certain incremental costs until it reaches a threshold. And again, I'm not sure exactly where that threshold is of like, now you're just like the others, right? So why, now why do I choose you over the others? The others likely will maintain some relevancy over time. So anyway, there's probably in every supplier's mind their own number. And it's hard to get into, millions of suppliers' minds, right?
Okay, good. And to go more specific, Moriya, what commission would be in terms, like, let's say the commission cannot be progressive, it's always the same, and let's say there's no cap. What is a fair commission for your kind of bookings?
I would like to talk about transparency that Eric mentioned, and
Okay.
other thing that David mentioned, that is the commission, different commission between the guest and the host. I think
Okay.
one of the things that confusing the most the guest is the fact that they see the commission on their side and they don't never know what is the difference, but they know that there's a big difference between that and what the host is really seeing as the real amount of the booking. So I would say that 5% is an amazing number, but even more amazing is the kind of the USP, the unique selling proposition, saying we take it equal. So while the property manager or the property owner is sharing 2.5%, you as a guest also sharing 2.5%. It's very known, it's very much in the open. You're not going to be able, or you have no reason to get out of the system in order to squeeze the property manager or property owner, knowing that there's a difference of 15% on their side between what you see as a guest and what they see as a booking. And everybody understands that without 5%, a platform cannot function. So I would say 5% is a great number. Dividing it equally between host and guest is a great idea. That don't make any of them trying to pull it more to their side. And if you want to put a lot of the segment of luxury vacation rental, you can also add a cap, and that it will be a dream come true.
We started with the 2.5 each side, and then to make it simpler and more transparent, we decided to change 5%. But this just changes on the white papers. I mean, it's like theoretical. Again, it's going to be decided by the network. So you could make a proposal where you want 2.5 the guest, 2.5 the host, and if it passes, maybe just for a certain kind of bookings, then it passes. One thing I'd like to add: when a transaction happens on the blockchain, you as a guest pay, and you will see exactly how much money goes to the host of your money and how much goes to the platform. So it's not transparent, it's more than transparent. It's just like completely open. And that makes it much more trustworthy, because we could say it's 5 and then have some hidden fees for the owner, etc. But there's an elephant in the room in the fact that in the last month, not behind you, there's Bidroom. They launched this membership plan where there's no commission, but both the guests, I guess, and maybe also the host pay a fee to be part of it, and then there's no commissions. That could be a way for us too. Why not? What do you think, guys, about this? And I'm gonna go with David, who's next in line. Have you heard about this model? Membership model?
I mean, that sounds old school Verbo before, when it was VRBO, before
yeah, but the guest pays too.
When they're Verbo, where sure, because a whole nother listing option is you're paying an advertising fee, right? You're paying like a classified ad. You pay $400 a year to be listed on a site. and that's your membership fee. So seeing that from the guest perspective as well, where they can, if they are going to travel a lot and they feel it's a better way to just pay a one-time fee than paying a commission for each booking. I can see that working from the guest side too, once you have momentum and you know a guest is traveling a lot. But that's not really a new thing from the property manager side. That's kind of been around for a while and has slowly been phased out to move towards the commission model as a way to get more properties on board from people who don't rent out throughout the year. They just rent out a little bit, so they don't want to pay, you know, a $500 fee. They just want to pay each time they get a booking.
Well, the commission model, in my opinion, has been proven more efficient for the platform because they could extract much more money than before. I remember HomeAway, they would charge you $300 a year, and if you wanted really to, you know, spend a lot, you had the platinum for 1,000 or 1,700. That was maximum. And today, with these 15% commissions, you easily spend on a normal apartment 3,000-4,000 a year. So, and with this money, you do marketing, and they basically priced out the old model. So HomeAway was forced to go on commission because they had not enough money for marketing. That's my reading. Maybe not true, but the new model, the membership model where the guest pays too, I've never seen it before. Maybe it existed. And my only question is, if you know that sounds sustainable to me. Does it? What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, look, what you're talking about, in my view, it becomes sort of it's almost becomes an opaque channel for you, right? Because you've got to have a membership potentially, right, or a login to reach, you know, if you're a consumer paying, in addition to the supply side. And when I say supply side, I mean property manager, host, or, you know, identify with a lot, you know, all of them. But that does allow, it does allow you to do some interesting things, because when you have an environment that you can control, you can compel people through different offers that potentially won't compete with your own kind of open market approach, which is sort of, you know, kind of the open consumer position and price. But, you know, sort of the ramp to get there is harder, right? Because then you're asking a consumer to do something that they're not programmed to do in today's e-com world, typically, unless there's some incentive, which it could very well be, right? Because it could be a lower cost, lower price point, and, you know, it's at the cost of an email address potentially, or, you know, some sort of monetary cost. So again, as David said, these models prevailed pretty heavily, you know, early on. What's old is new again. You know, there's a lot of that going on, and I think there's probably a place in the market for it for sure.
Right. We're gonna have Michael. Sorry, go ahead, David.
Yeah, the guest would need to do the math, right? How many trips a year do I need to make paying a membership worth it? So first, maybe a first option would be to not have that in place so that guests are actually using it and seeing how many trips they're making. And then they'll realize the math makes it worth it to have a membership model instead of the pay-per-booking.
Yeah, I don't know how much they're charging, but I guess that if one booking of $1,000 costs to the guest $150, it doesn't take too many bookings, I guess. Anyway, we're going to ask this to Michael Ross. We're going to have him together with Antonio Bortolotti on a panel on a customer acquisition. So we're going to ask him how this works. But it's interesting. It keeps coming back to my mind and as a possible option. How would it be? Would you like it, Moriya, just to pay a fixed amount and then forget about commissions? Or maybe something hybrid with a very low commission and a membership fee?
I believe to really go back only to membership, I'm afraid it's not going to work. Like David mentioned now, the guest will have to calculate how many times they're going to travel a year. Maybe it will work better for the segment I'm representing, because it can be done in maybe in one booking. But still, it's very much depending on other things that the OTAs developed at the time from the time of HomeAway or the old VRBO, which is more like the trust and safety, and other things that encourage people feel that they can book and they can feel safe. and they can pay only on success of the booking taking place, and not something that will be happening maybe in the future. Especially now in time of COVID-19 is still the biggest elephant in the room, and nobody knows how many times you're going to travel, where it will be possible, etc. I would not start to go back to this model right now.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm thinking after, because right now, whatever we're saying is not going to work. So we have a nice question, very direct from Pierre, and it's a hard question, so I'm going to pass it to you. I'm not going to answer it, or maybe I'm going to answer it at the end. What do you think? He says, how can a 5% commission can be sustainable if Airbnb is charging 14 or whatever is charging more, because Airbnb is charging 12 plus 3 or plus 6 or 15 plus 6. So I would say more than 14, and losing 350 millions per quarter. Anybody wants to answer this question? Otherwise, I'm forced to.
No, I mean, I think we talked about that early on, is the viability of a 5% model, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to have money to market and really drive consumer demand. So that is still remains the question. And, you know, and I guess experience will prove it, you know, one way or the other.
Yeah, good reply. Anybody else wants to answer this? No, it's my turn then. No, actually, we don't know, Pierre, if it's sustainable. That's the whole point. We start from 5% and see if we manage to get enough marketing to get customers. Now, of course, Airbnb is losing now because of COVID, so I wouldn't really, you know, not today. Nothing is basically sustainable. In a post-COVID world where tourism comes back, probably in a different way. Will 5% be enough? We don't know. We hope so, because he's adding that was before COVID-19. Yeah, last year is true. So in general, Airbnb wasn't losing money in the whole history. I would say that it was a very successful business, except for last year. I guess last year they were investing more. That's why they were losing. Not every time a company loses money, it's actually not profitable. It's like Amazon has been losing money forever, and now they own the world. So I would say the model of Airbnb with that kind of commission was working in general, and they were charging a lot, so 15%. Can a company or a project charge 5%? We don't know. We think it's possible because the technology makes this possible, and basically because it's going to be much cheaper to market things once the supply side understands it. And I'm just going to answer this quickly, and this question will be answered much better in the customer acquisition panel. But in short, once the supply side decides that there's a better way and start closing calendars for certain dates, and basically forcing the guests to say, if you want to book these dates, it's not going to happen on Booking.com or Airbnb because it's too expensive. You need to go to the alternatives, which could be direct bookings, or it could be trips, or it could be 100 or 1,000 different new booking portals we come out from Web3. Then it's going to be sustainable. So it's a long-term thing, but our bet is that it's going to be sustainable. But I invite you to join the other panel where we're going to discuss this more closely. And thank you for your question, Pierre. So we got 10 minutes left. I think we covered basically everything here. Do you have anything you would like to add, guys?
Well, it's interesting, one comment that you just made about wanting to get a booking on a certain platform at a certain time, like around the holidays or something. Well, I guess two things. One, we're seeing property managers having a more sophisticated, holistic view of just being distributed, you know, all of the above. They're not putting all their eggs in one basket. They are being listed on as many channels as possible and putting a lot more focus on their own direct site now, with the goal of each year getting more direct bookings as a percentage of their bookings than they had the year before. we're also seeing them not care, they're not as hung up on the commission, the more sophisticated ones, because as I mentioned earlier, they're just pricing accordingly. So if they have to pay 2.5%, they'll price it at $102.50. If they need to pay 5%, they'll list it as $105 on that channel specific. So they're still making the same amount at the end of the day. But going back to your comment, I think we're going to see more sophisticated algorithms and property management software that allow you to list on different sites at different times, and maybe have your property be available on Airbnb or on Trips, but not on Booking.com. And I'll give you two funny examples that are actually the opposite of each other. We have one client who says they don't want last-minute bookings from Booking.com because oftentimes they're fraudulent. So they're happy to get bookings way in advance from Booking.com, but if it's last minute, they want their calendar to be blocked for that channel specifically. We have another client who wants as few Booking.com reservations as possible. So they don't want reservations far in advance from Booking.com, and they only want last minute reservations.
Because they cancel often, is that the reason?
Yes, and they cancel, and I think the fraud thing as well. So they just don't want it to fill up their calendar because there's going to be the cancellation. Oftentimes there's payment issues where the payment doesn't go through, and they have a hard time following up and collecting from that guest. So there's a few different reasons. So having some more sophisticated ability to have your properties available on different sites at different times, I think the market's heading that way. So
Hostfully does this, right?
In some regards, we're working on adding more like AI that can get smarter to be live on one channel versus not live on the other. And that's, you don't see a lot of that right now. Either it's available or it's not.
Is the demand for this kind of service growing, as you think you mentioned?
Yes, especially now as they're looking to broaden their distribution channels, they're starting to think more about what exactly that means. Maybe far in advance, I only want to get direct bookings, and then last minute, I'm just going to open up to all my channels.
Okay.
So there's a few different strategies you can take with that.
That's amazing, because this is something we were foreseeing, and we call them advanced calendars, in which you would leave your dates open for Trips because it's cheaper, and close for Airbnb or Booking until a certain point, where if you're still empty, you open to them. So priorities, right? And I'm very happy to see this is happening, because it does make a lot of sense. Of course, the next thing people say when you say this, but the algorithm is going to punish you. What do you think, Eric, when you do that?
The algorithm is going to punish you as the...
Oh yeah, I mean, like, because you have less availability on Booking or Airbnb, and the algorithm is going to punish your ranking. They're not going to come and hit you, but it's going to punish your ranking.
Yeah, I think it depends on how many suppliers are using it, right? Because they also want to make sure that their shelves still have supply, right?
Yeah, so this is balanced.
Yeah, there's going to be a tipping point, but you got to start somewhere. I don't know if I'm sure the algorithms will catch up with that sort of behavior, but eventually, the masses will decide.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point, actually, because I was told, I think the first panel, Vanessa was saying this thing, Vanessa from Rentals United, if you close your dates too much, the algorithm punishes. And this is, of course, true, but at the same time, it's true what you're saying. Yes, but they want to have availabilities. So what they're probably going to try to do is to keep your, they take your availabilities, but they're not going to push you too high, which makes sense for them. That's fair. Okay, that's amazing. That's another, well, I came to the conclusion that this is the only way we can have alternative channels when the guest has no choice. Because given the choice, they go for the easy one, which is the OTA. And another interesting point from David, 2 years ago, I would say commission was Trips is going to work because Trip is cheaper. And today, the commission is less important. The price of the platform is less important, because the very important fact that I realized only last year, and I've been on this thing for 3 years, is that you will finally own your listing, you will own your reviews, and you will own your customers. This is much more important. Does any of you know anybody's been kind of deplatformed from the platforms, like kicked out from Airbnb or stopped working with Booking?
Yeah.
Personally, have you heard people?
Yeah.
Okay. This is
What do you
scary.
mean by what do you mean by own your reviews? If you don't,
Oh, that's the amazing part.
If you get a bad review, you can have it disappear?
That wouldn't be fair. No. Today you've been working on, let's say, Airbnb for 10 years, and you collected 1,000 reviews. This is pure gold. The problem is this is not gold. This is an ETF. Like, you have a piece of paper which says this is your gold. But then if they want to close your account, you lose everything. So imagine losing 1,000 reviews or 2,000 reviews. This is a disaster. But that's what happens. And on the blockchains, on Web3, what's coming, and it's not an exclusivity of Trips. This is what's going to happen in the whole internet. This is the sovereign internet. You create a listing today on Airbnb, on Trips. You actually do it on Origin Protocol, these guys from Silicon Valley. And from San Francisco. You own the keys which control the listing. It's on the blockchain. It's not on Trips. So, and then you get a review, and the review is written by a guest. The guest is the only person who can do something with the review. Trips cannot cancel this review ever. So if you get 1,000 reviews on Trips, and then Trips says, David, you did something wrong, we don't want you in Trips anymore, it's going to be voted out by the network, you lose access to Trips, you lose access to our customers, but you still keep your listing and you keep your reviews. So actually you have one listing and one review, one listing with all the reviews attached, and you give access to all the OTAs. But if the OTAs close, shut down, or kick you out from them, you still have it. You see what I mean? Right. So you have an asset now. Your reviews become an asset. And that changes everything. So this is more important than the commission itself, in my opinion, because you're not working on somebody else's ground anymore. This is your own ground. You own it. And the OTAs are reduced to the role of sending you customers. Don't know if it does make sense. And there's another comment from Pierre saying that for the reviews, it depends on if the OTA agree to this, and as they don't share the reviews, or they're required to have a link if you copy them. Oh yeah, maybe I wasn't clear. I'm talking about reviews made on bookings, not through the OTA, like the bookings on Trips in this case. So these are new reviews. Okay. While what Pierre is mentioning is kind of being addressed by these other company reviews. I don't know if you heard about them. They get the reviews, your reviews from Airbnb, and you can use or Booking on the other companies, and you can use it on your own website. And we're gonna talk to them too in another panel. And well, that's a big discussion to have, but basically, because we're talking about the commission, in my opinion, the commission is less important than it used to be, because we realize that the real value is in the asset. We're going to have ownership of our assets. That changes completely. So the proposition of an OTA is get bookings from me and get the customer, and we own everything. You just get the customer and try to make money on this customer. And the proposition of Web3 is we send you a customer and you get the reviews, and they are going to grow. Well, in a bad way, you've seen Black Mirror, this episode where you have reviews on your person, kind of this, but not managed by a company. Well, that was a very bad example actually, but basically the reviews are attached to the listing forever, and they don't depend on a third party, which changes everything. Okay. It's 7 o'clock. I mean, it's 1 hour. It's different times according to where you are. We are done. If you want to add something.
Yeah, I mean, look, I appreciate the invite to come in and kind of share the conversation. This is a perfect example of why Richard and I are kind of propping up Yes Consulting is to be able to bring the right kind of minds, insight, and experience to conversations like this, so we can try to get it right versus getting it wrong. So I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk with you all.
Thank you. So thank you, Eric.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you, Moriya.
A lot of interesting ideas, topic. I like the fact that it's got a little bit of brainstorming. We're talking about future and hopefully near future. And I really hope that we will have the chance to practice it for real.
That's great. That's going to happen. Just a question of time. I guarantee you this. I promise you this. David, any final remarks?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. You know, our clients, as I said earlier, they're looking to broaden their distribution and really diversify. So having more options out there and obviously with lower commissions is very attractive to them. So excited to see where things head here.
Great. So I want to thank you, Gianpaolo from Host B2B. Gianpaolo is taking care of the panel technical aspect. He's behind the scenes and is making this possible. So thank you very much, Gianpaolo. I think he's appearing now. And I want to invite you, there you are. Hi, Gianpaolo from Barcelona. I want to invite anybody to Monday's panel, which is about listing approval. We are planning not to let anyone just get in and get bookings, but the network will approve each listing before it gets on the platform. And we're going to have Chris Morgan from iPrac, which is a company which certifies listings. So it helps direct bookings, basically. It creates this trust, which normally is not there when you get a direct booking. And Silvia Montini from dormoa.com, which is an OTA specialized on the Italian guests. It was amazing to see how she managed to get bookings by targeting a specific demographic, which are people who are not really technical enough to book through Booking.com or Airbnb. They prefer to call somebody. And these people still exist, and it's a big, a big market. It was amazing to see. So, and she also vets the listings. So we're going to discuss about that. Thank you very much. You're going to see this video. You're going to find it on YouTube from tomorrow. And guys, I really hope to see you somewhere in some conference, maybe next year. And good luck to everybody.
Thank you very much, Luca.
Bye. Bye-bye.